Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you everyone for having me. Let's introduce myself. My name is Intan Nurrahmi. I'm the second author from this paper, and I'm going to present our new article titled Death Penalty for Confidential Drugs, Perspective Islamic Criminal Law. In this research is based on our collaborative research between Syariah faculty, namely is Mr. Yandi Mariandi, and Psychology faculty, namely is Mr. Wika Angga from Universitas Islam Bandung, Indonesia. So let's get started. For introduction, drug abuse is getting more and more problematic every day. Even drugs have become a serious problem faced by almost all countries. Drug abuse outside in interest of health self-risk or for the development of science is an act against the law, given its illegal use. The danger of its abuse is not only limited to addicts, but can have further consequences, namely disruption to the order of life in society that can have a catastrophic impact on the collapse of nation, a country, and the world. In Islamic law, there are several verses of the Quran and Hadith that prohibit people from consuming alcohol and other things that are intoxicating or which are called khamar. In its development, liquor and intoxicants can also be analogous to drugs. Due to the absence of a clear text in the Quran in determining the provision of marijuana, heroin, and other forms of both solid and liquid, which are known as drugs, some scholars have analogous drugs with khamar because both have the same ilat, can eliminate reason, and can damage the body. But in reality, narcotics have a more devastating effect than khamar, so some scholars give penalties for drugs crimes similar to the Shirikal penalty, namely method. The approach of this research is qualitative research through a normative juridical legal research approach, which includes research on legal principles, legal systematic, legal synchronization levels, legal history, and comparative law. The specification of this research is described analysis research, which is research to describe and analyze the existing problem and included in the type of libraries research, which will be presented descriptively. And for discussion, the first definition of Islamic criminal law. Criminal acts in terms of Islamic law are called jinayah. Scholars are also used jarima. Al-Mawardi defend the jarima by the provision of shara, which all treated with the punishment had or ta'zir. In definition of forward by Al-Mawardi, it doesn't appear in the definition that there are a criminal acts punishable by qiyas or diyat, which are described only as criminal acts punishable by had and ta'zir. According to Abdul Qadir Auda, the definition of jinayah, according to the term fiqh, is an act which is proved by shara, whether that action is about the soul or property or others. But he said that most scholars of fiqh use the word jinayah in a special meaning, namely for action which affect the soul or a person or life, such as killing, injuring, and beating. From several opinions, it can be concluded that a criminal act in Islamic law is called jinayah, which is an action that is prohibited by shara. The second, Islamic crime criteria. As for the criteria for an act to be said to be a criminal act, Abdul Qadir Auda, as also stated by Muhammad Abu Zahra, formulates it into three forms of pillars, namely syar'i, maddi, and adabi. That is people who can be held accountable for what they do. The third, stipulation of Islamic criminal punishment based on the severity of the punishment or the offense committed by a person. Islamic criminal law jinayah or jarima is divided into three types, namely hudud crime, qiyas, edyat, and ta'zir crime. The fourth, Islamic criminal decree relating to drugs. According to Al-Shatibi laws enacted for the benefit of servants, confirms that the doctrine of Maqasid al-Sharia is one, namely maslahah. The minor crimes against these 5 points are set out in the Jinayah chapter. Jinayah or jarima, which is a criminal act in Islamic law in the form of Sarah prohibition, which are treated by Allah with a punishment had or ta'zir. The punishment had is a punishment established through revelation, which is the right of Allah as Shari. Ta'zir punishment is a punishment that has no meaning and is determined based on the judge consider or qadi with regard to crime related to drugs or alcohol. The authors divide the from punishment into two. The first, legal sanction for consumer or addict. The legal sanction imposed on drinkers or consuming khamar is had, which is being beaten for 40 times. Second, legal sanction for drug dealers. Islamic Sharia doesn't only impose penalties for the use of intoxicating item, but parties involved in case of abuse are also subject to legal sanction. In Islamic law, the category of extraordinary crime is jarima hiraba. The designation of hiraba as jarima, which formally results in widespread excess in society, is based on Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 33. Thus, drug traffickers can be categorized as a form of hiraba, which is very contrary of Maqasid Sharia, especially ad-daruriyah al-khams, and therefore deserves to be sentenced to death. The death penalty is imposed on the person concerned not through the ta'zir provision, but through the head provision. For a conclusion, the related to a type intoxicating drink made from the taste of grape, palm, or wheat. However, it doesn't mean that khamar is limited to whatever the early days of Islam, but rather that the forms found at the time were still very limited. Therefore, the meaning of khamar subsequently undergoes a good development of its according to the development of the area. The second, the legal sanctions related to drugs abuse are stipulated based on the head or hudud law. The third, in Islamic punishment, drug traffickers on a certain scale can be categorized as hirabah crime, extraordinary crime, and therefore punishable by hudud punishment up to the death penalty. This is accordance with the spirit of Maqasid Sharia, especially regarding al-daruriyah al-khams. So, this is the end for our presentation in International Conference on Social and Humanities Research 2020. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.